Hey, good morning, Bone.
Morning, Gary. How are you?
I'm doing well. I got a lot I want to cover with you this morning. Before we actually get to current recruiting, I thought we saw on defense Saturday from Alabama another example of why recruiting, evaluation, and getting these guys that are physically prepared to play sometimes as true freshmen is so important. Alabama started a freshman nose tackle and two freshman inside linebackers, as we know, right up the middle of the defense at Will and Mike. So you had DJ Dale, you had Christian Harris, and you had Shane Lee, and boy, did they step up. Dale was the SEC co-defensive lineman of the week with 3 tackles, a half tackle for loss. Harris and Lee both had 6 tackles, and Lee called the signals. What did you think of and make out of their performance?
I'll tell you, back in December, February, when these guys signed, I don't think anybody would have probably put them in as game one starters, and that just shows that's a lot to their credit in terms of them getting on campus and getting prepared and doing what needs to be done in order to take on those roles. And obviously injuries were a big part of that in terms of the linebacker position. But DJ Dell coming in early and working out and getting a lot of reps during the spring and turning some heads, and then being a starter game one. I mean, that just says a lot about him. I mean, he reminded me coming out of high school of Daron Payne. Not necessarily as physically advanced as Daron Payne, but could do a lot of similar things, especially at the nose tackle position. Now, did I think he was going to come in and make a tremendous impact right away? Probably not. I thought that it might take him a year or two, but with him getting there, this just kind of shows the benefit of arriving at Alabama or wherever a kid might decide to go to school early. When they get there in January, they're able to go through those winter workouts and the fourth quarter program, all that good stuff. It really helps them a lot. It gives them a big boost. But I thought, for the most part, all 3 of those guys, played tremendously, and been hearing that from a lot of different people. And that it's good that Alabama was able to get a big kind of a blowout win and get them some game experience, kind of help them as they move forward into the season, into the SEC schedule. But I think these guys are going to be just fine. And it's crazy to think that these guys are just freshmen, and how good they'll be, in a few years, especially.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. All right, here's where I want to go with this. Going back to Marcel Darius, and there's certainly been others, but Darius, Daron Payne, Quintin Williams, now DJ Dale, all Birmingham area interior defensive linemen, some nose tackles, and now you've got a kid at Ramsey High School in Tim Keenan who fits the bill as well. And 2021 defensive tackle. He was at the game Saturday, and this is a guy I've watched a little bit of his video, and I've read your write-ups about him. He seems to fall in line right in terms of what these guys have brought to the Alabama program, and is a big target for 2021. Is Alabama the leader? And can you tell us more about Tim Keenan?
Tim Keenan first kind of came onto the scene after his sophomore year, or excuse me, after his freshman year. Started getting noticed a little bit, and went to some camps and did extremely well, and got offered by Alabama last summer, and then has continued to just develop and become an even better football player, and just continues to be one of those kids that Alabama has targeted and focused in on, and they really want him as part of this 2021 recruiting class. And he's one of the top overall players in the state for next year. And been a frequent visitor at Alabama, was in Tuscaloosa for in June, but then he returned in July for the cookout. Made the trip over from Birmingham to Atlanta last Saturday for the game against Duke. He had a pretty good game on Friday night, and Quintin Williams was actually at his game. It's kind of cool for our kid, 4-star defensive lineman, junior in high school, to have the number 3 pick in the NFL draft at your game, who's also from Birmingham. They've built a pretty good connection with each other, and they've kept in touch. And He's kind of like a big Quintin Williams, kind of like a big brother to Tim Keenan. I will be absolutely shocked if he does not end up at Alabama. He won't claim a leader just yet. He tries to say that everything's open, but I think it's pretty obvious that Alabama's comfortably in the driver's seat, and he says he's going to wait until signing day to make a decision. Now we hear that all the time from recruits, and they tend to decide a little bit sooner. So I will be shocked if it's signing day next year when he commits, but I certainly think he will commit to Alabama at some point.
Yeah, Ramsey High School, Tim Keenan, boy, I really like him. All right, also at the game on Saturday in Atlanta, and I know the coaches couldn't have any contact because it was a neutral site game, but Eric Gilbert, the outstanding tight end, was there, and I had some people texting me that it was ironic, or maybe it wasn't, that Miller Forrestall and Major Tennyson caught the first 2 touchdown passes of the season from Tua Tagovailoa, and not Judy and Devontae Smith or Henry Ruggs or those guys, although Ruggs and Smith added touchdown catches. Guy texted me and said that had to be for Eric Gilbert. I don't know about that, but Gilbert certainly had to be pleased with what he saw in terms of the tight ends getting involved in the offense and catching touchdown passes. So what's the latest on Gilbert in Alabama?
Well, I don't know if they intentionally did that, but it certainly didn't hurt Alabama's chances with the nation's top tight end in attendance. And these neutral site games, they're kind of interesting because you can't have any contact with coaches. You basically go to a will call window, you get your ticket, you go to your seat, you enjoy the game, and you leave. It's different than a Saturday afternoon in Tuscaloosa where you're going down there, you're having a pregame meal, you're visiting with the coaches and other recruits, and walking around the sidelines pregame and getting able to spend time with coaches after the game. It wasn't like that at all in Atlanta, but plenty of recruits were over there. Eric Gilbert being one of them, probably being the main one who was there. And I think Alabama's chances with him have really increased over the course of the last month and a half. Ever since he made that trip over to Tuscaloosa for the cookout in late July, and we've been saying for a while that it's been a Georgia-Tennessee battle. Well, now I think it's Alabama, and then kind of Georgia and Tennessee right behind them right now. That's just my prediction. That I wouldn't say that's a prediction. I just probably just a feeling that Alabama's in the driver's seat for Eric Gilbert right now. There's a big need at the tight end position, and I think that he's still going to take his visits. He's still going to take an official visit to Georgia and maybe even Tennessee. But a lot of people have been thinking that it's an Alabama-Tennessee battle for the last month or so. That Georgia was kind of fading a little bit. So with Tennessee having a rough start to the season with the loss to Georgia State, I think that can only help increase Alabama's chances with him. But yeah, I think Alabama's sitting pretty good with Eric Gilbert right now. But like I said, it's not over by any means. He's still going to take his official visits that he has yet to take, and we'll just see where things end up landing. But I think Alabama's done a great job with him so far, and they've really made up so much ground with him over the course of the last month and a half that it looks like they're in the driver's seat.
Good news. All right, Andrew Bone, our guest here with his Bama football recruiting report. By the way, Bone, I just love when you do your 10 recruiting thoughts. I mean, if folks join BamaInsider, that's just something that I always look forward to, and it pretty much covers the gamut. And a topic that I want to hit on is one you've got in your 10 recruiting thoughts. You've been saying for some time that Javier Morton, defensive back out of Georgia, was not going to be a part of this class. That became official last week when he decommitted. That would appear, and maybe I'm reading this wrong, but that would appear certainly to open up the spot for Joel Williams, the defensive back out of Baton Rouge, who's expected to commit to, Alabama on Monday. Is that the way you read it?
Yeah, I think so. And I've been telling our subscribers for a while that Javier Morton was not going to be in Alabama's class, and I honestly don't think he's been in Alabama's class for a while. I think he and Alabama parted ways maybe even 2 months ago. I just don't think that he's been committed. I think he waited for an opportunity to release the news whenever he felt like it was the right time to do so. And I just don't think that he's. Alabama probably hasn't considered him a commitment. He probably hasn't considered himself an Alabama commitment. This last week was just the time when he announced it. So, Alabama's been pushing for, a few other guys, Joel Williams, they have Joseph, a few other ones throughout the country, but, really been pressing for Joel Williams since probably early June when he got an offer from Alabama. He was committed to Florida at the time, decommitted. I think Alabama probably would have liked for him to go ahead and jump on board, midsummer, maybe even in July, but he wanted to wait. His mom's birthday is next Monday, and he's going to announce his decision next Monday. Now, there's a few schools that are in it outside of Alabama, LSU. He mentioned Houston as a favorite, Tennessee as a favorite, but end of the day, everyone's expecting him to choose Alabama. I'm expecting him to choose Alabama, so I don't think it'll be a big shock. It'll be a big moment for him, and he'll probably throw out a few things, a few tweets, I'm sure, in the next couple of days to kind of throw some people off and make people think that it's a lot closer than it is. I personally don't think it's very close. I think it's Alabama, and then everyone else is kind of in the dust.
All right, we mentioned and we talked about the fact that there could be no contact between the coaches and those recruits that attended the game in Atlanta, but that won't be the case for this Saturday, the home opener at 3 o'clock against New Mexico State. I'm assuming, Bone, that the visit list will be lengthy for this first home game, and there'll be a lot of prospects, many of whom Alabama really is intensely recruiting, and others maybe that they just want to have on campus to take a look at things. It's a lot of in-state guys. Tell us about the visit weekend coming up for this home opener.
Yeah, we're still piecing together the visit list. We'll see a lot of the in-state commitments on campus, and the fact that it is at 3 p.m. kind of gives players a better opportunity to get there rather than it being an 11 a.m. or a 1 p.m. kickoff. Maybe even some out-of-state players, some guys from Mississippi or Tennessee or Georgia. We may see some guys from over there. Hudson Wolf, who is a top 100 player in the 2021 class out of Savannah, Tennessee, big-time tight end. He will be back in Tuscaloosa this weekend, so I think that's a big visit, getting him back on campus. He's been to Tuscaloosa several times already. I think Alabama's in pretty good shape with him early on, but still, long way to go for him. But like I said, we'll see a lot of Alabama commitments on hand. I imagine Quindarius Robinson, Demoy Kennedy, Jackson Bratton, Roydell Williams. A lot of in-state guys will be there at the game on Saturday.
One thing that you do in your 10 recruiting thoughts, and I love it. I think a lot of fans love tracking the commitments in terms of their high school football seasons, and got a few more minutes with Andrew Bone. You listed your top 5 performances from Alabama commitments this past week, and my gosh, Drew Sanders, his team won 49-6. He had a 35-yard and 7-yard touchdown reception. He also had a 27-yard fumble return for a touchdown on defense, and finished the game with 5 catches for 77 yards. I know this is a guy that can obviously do a lot of things, and Alabama, I think, is projecting him on defense, but clearly he's a weapon on offense as well, Bone. What a player.
He is. I mean, we've talked about him for a while. I mean, he's one of the best athletes in the country. He would probably rank, in the top 100 at just about any position, other than on the offensive or defensive line. I mean, he's just such a special kid. I mean, 6'5", 215 pounds. Can run sideline to sideline, can hit, and is just extremely athletic. I mean, he had, like I said, 77 catches at the receiver position. I mean, he's just a tremendous athlete. And, Alabama's done such a good job recruiting, athletes over the course of the last, several years. And you look at a guy like Christian Harris, who in high school he played cornerback and wide receiver at 6 foot 1.5, 225, 230 pounds, and now he's outside linebacker at Alabama. I mean, he's just a spectacular athlete. And then you look at Drew Sanders, who's 6'5", 215 pounds, and he plays all over the field. I mean, he's just going to be I think he's going to be a really special talent when he focuses in on just one position. Especially when he gets at Alabama and plays on the defensive side of the ball.
Roydell Williams did his thing. You listed him, Will Anderson, Demoy Kennedy. But as we wrap it up, I want to ask you about a guy I think is a little overlooked in this class, and that's Jackson Bratton, a big physical linebacker out of Muscle Shoals. He had 12 tackles, a sack, and a pass breakup in a win against Bob Jones. I think he's one of those guys, kind of a blue-collar player that it's easy to overlook, but he's a very productive football player and a tremendously physical kid, Bone. And I like this guy. And when you play against a quality team like Bob Jones and put up those kind of numbers, you clearly are a really, really talented football player.
Yeah, and Jackson's been he's been a great football player at Muscle Shoals for the last 3 years. I mean, is a 3-year starter at Muscle Shoals, and I think he had over 150 tackles, around 150 tackles last season, and already off to a tremendous start this year. Had a great game on Friday night. I mean, he's a big, strong, physical kid. He's 6'3", about almost 230 pounds, and he's recruited as an inside linebacker. The inside linebackers in Alabama class, very talented with Jackson Bratton and Demoy Kennedy, both in-state guys, and I think Alabama fans are certainly excited about this recruiting class, especially at the linebacker position. But everyone, like you said, everyone kind of always talks about the other guys: Drew Sanders, Quandarius Robinson, Chris Braswell, Demoy Kennedy. And rightfully so. I mean, all those guys are top 100 players. But then you do have Jackson Bratton, who's also in the Rivals 250, and very good in his own right.
All right, Bone. Outstanding update as always. Love having you on. And for our listeners who maybe aren't Bama Insider members, I know you'd love to have them check it out and browse it for free, and then maybe get that trial package and then join full time so they can keep up with all the recruiting updates.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to have anyone join BamaInsider.com, part of the Rivals.com network. You can sign up now for 30 days for a free trial, and I'd love for you to check it out. Follow me on my Twitter handle at Andrew J. Bone, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is the Bama Insider YouTube channel.
And you also catch Bone weekly on the Jay Barker Show as well. Thanks a lot, Bone.
Thanks, Gary.